Reddit, what single act of seduction got you thinking, wow, that actually worked? Story 1. Some guy knew seduced a girl by telling her that he was so bad in bed that she has to try it. She agreed and finished him off by telling him that it actually was bad. I knew him because he contemplated Sudoku. Story 2. I had been on a date with this girl like once or twice. And then we go swimming. Afterwards we went back to my apartment, my dad's. I was still in high school and I wanted to get rid of the smell of chlorine on me. So I told her I'm going to shower. Feel free to join me in that half-joking tone, thinking it would never work. 2 minutes into it she hops in there with me. And that's the story of how I lost my V. Story 3. The week before I had gone on my first date with a great girl. And come Saturday night we had both been working on a project together with a bunch of other people. It was super cold, so I gave her a ride back to her dorm. But she'd forgotten her keys and it was late. She was worrying about where she'd sleep that night. And I said, I've got a bed. So she agreed and we spent that night in my twin bed, cuddling and talking and dry humping until about 3:30 in the morning. 9 months later we couldn't be happier together. No. She's not pregnant. Story 4. I came home to see my weed dealer roommate smoking pot with a very hot woman. She was an escort buying weed from him. I opened a bottle of wine and after a bit she told me all the things she would do to me if I paid her. I told her that she could get all the S she wanted for free. She stayed with me that night. And she became my GF for about 4 months. Had to end it because she was bad girl, but it was fun. It's worth mentioning that I was a broke-ass wheelchair-bound 30-year-old. Story 5. On the way home from a drunken first date, she starts observing and asking about the scars on my hands. Machinist. She asks if they hurt. As she kisses one better, I reply with yes and point to another kiss, another higher kiss. I point to my lips and it's on. Story 6. I had just met this one girl after high school, and she was telling me that she gives amazing head. I immediately tell her that her head game is probably whack, and she's over-exaggerating. She instantly gets mad and whips my D out, and starts giving me the best head I ever got in my life. I think I came in less than 2 minutes. Story 7. I shouldn't have been surprised, because it was a tried and true JFK line, but I was anyway. I was at a loud party, trying to chat up a very pretty girl I had met once or twice before. I got frustrated at not being able to hear, and I just leaned real close to her and said, "Would you like to discuss this someplace quieter?" Story 8. About 3 years ago I went to a house party with some friends. One girl was there who I thought was absolutely gorgeous. Puerto Rican, nice skin, curly hair, and a great butt. I told my friend who lived there that I thought her friend was cute. I keep seeing gorgeous PR girl around the party. We make slight eye contact and she brushes past me a few times. However, I have yet to say anything to her. This goes on for about 2 hours. Fast forward and a few of us go outside to smoke, drink. We are just chilling on the back porch, no lights on, and the girl is just standing next to me. I put my arm around her waist and pull her towards me, little by little. Eventually, the group disbands and everyone goes back inside, except us. We just stand there for a little while, and I kind of just keep caressing her body with my hands. This turns into making out, and next thing I know she starts zipping my pants down. And that is the story of how I did it. Without uttering a single word. Ta30 2000, 0 o'clock Ta30 for 1000 own time I was at a club, had a few drinks and just started dancing with this girl for a few songs. The booze flowing through us. We made out on the dance floor a little bit. And eventually, as the night was coming to a close, bars close at 3 a.m. State law, I got brave and asked, "So, do you have a place to stay for tonight?" She thought about it for a second and then said no. The story of my first one-night stand. Story 9. Sarcastically introducing myself as King Edward III to the girl sitting beside me. It was during one of those inane college class introductions where you pick a partner and introduce them to the class. She went on to regale the class with my many military victories and how I deposed Roger Mortimer for control of the English throne. Story 10. I was at a bar having a little birthday party for myself, and my super crush shows up. I'm 3 sheets at this point and we start talking. Out of nowhere the honesty train comes barreling down the tracks. And I say to her, I'm super drunk and I'm probably going to start throwing up in a few minutes. So if you want to make out, we gotta do it now. She says, okay. We make out and much later than I thought. I threw up true to my word. Not on her though, just for clarification. Story 11. Met 2 girls in a hostel in New Zealand. And went out drinking together. Got a little tipsy and told them both I was terrible in bed. Even going as far as to tell them a few amusing stories for verification to tears of laughter. They both went to bathroom and drew straws or something. Because only one came back and she grabbed me straight away and kissed me. A few shenanigans later and we were back in her room. An interesting night to say the least. Story 12. Approaching girls on the street, otherwise known as dating. Literally just going up to a girl anywhere. Stopping them for a minute's like how you might stop someone for directions. And then just explaining that you wanted to meet them and try to drum up a conversation. If you get along, getting a phone number and setting up a date. I've been on more dates in a year than most guys will have in their entire lifetime. It's difficult to work up the bravery at first and you have to persevere through the rejections. And weird reactions. But it gets easier and eventually they don't faze you. If you're just straight up and honest and chill about things, you won't come across creepy. Most girls react neutrally no matter what you look like. Looks don't really play a part. The brave action of just having the balls to approach and then actually be genuine, interesting, and not creepy is enough to get most girls on a date. It also makes you much more confident with being in public and dealing with people in general. I meet a few new people every week as a result now. New dates about once every week or 2 weeks. Story 13. Very early in college. I brought a girl back to my dorm to watch a movie. I knew I wanted to make move, but I had no idea how to be smooth about it. So like a true rock star, I just put my arm around her as we sat on the futon. Eventually, she nervously mentioned that she wasn't looking for a boyfriend or anything. That followed with me being like, well, that's okay. I just, was wondering if you'd want to fool around or something while gesticulating like an idiot. She was totally down with it and I did it. Story 14. Apparently, intently listening to a woman is like pure liquid ass. I've had completely unintentional hookups, simply on the basis of finding something they had to say interesting. People I expressed zero interest in have remembered me, or asked about me weeks after a single conversation. I come to 2 conclusions based on this. 1. Evidently, no one listens to women, or at least not full-grown men. A stranger paying 100% attention to your words must be the female equivalent of an impromptu did it. It can make their whole month. 2. Despite knowing this, it's really hard to do. There's too much distraction in the modern world, and most idle conversations are just too damn mind-numbing to commit your full attention. I guess for men, people pay just enough attention to them that this is no biggie, but for women, it's so rare it counts as a form of seduction. Story 15. About 4 years ago I met and kept running into this girl. That was way out of my league. It took a few months of run-ins before I asked for her number. I was a lifeguard and she was wary of the reputation. I told her she was right, as there were only 5 dateable lifeguards in our whole town. I named 4 of my tamest, most respectable friends and myself last because of course. I told her I was dead last, barely on the list at all. But I'm on the list. Such a stupid line when I think about it. We got married last May. Story 15. I got a girl's number, and the first time I called her to try to get her to come out for drinks, she told me she had to pick up her friend at the airport early the next day. I said I live way closer to the airport than you, and I have an alarm clock. We were like 2 hours later. Looking back, I still can't believe that worked. Story 16. I once asked a girl I met that night if she wanted to go bang in the pipes behind the pool hall, giant maze of construction pipes. Closing parenthesis. It didn't work that night. But apparently I gave her my number and she ended up calling me a week later. And we had a good time for a couple years. This question came after making out with one of the two girls she came with and then making fun of the other one until she had to be physically restrained from attacking me in the parking lot. Story 17. In high school, me and my friend went on a double date. He was dating a girl and she had a friend, so he brought me along, so kind of a blind date. At the movies. Once we got in, we were all laughing and cutting up waiting for the movie to start, and the girl I was with tries saying something to the other girl and got no reply. We look over and they are making out with each other. She then looks back at me and says, "Well, damn, now what do we do?" It felt almost like an invitation to kiss her, so I grab her face and plant one right on her mouth and say, "How about this?" We made out the whole movie and dated for a few months after that. Story 18. I met a girl at a bar one night. We chatted up for a bit, and at the end of the conversation, she left me her number and invited me to Afties. I arrive at Afties to find at least 3 other guys that were looking to hook up with her. We continued our conversation from earlier, whereas the other suitors not so discreetly made their intentions clear and fail. People started funneling out as things started to die down, and we made our way to her bedroom out of nowhere. I tell her my back and shoulders feel really tense. "Can you give me a massage?" To which she hops on my back. After 5 seconds, I turn over and start making out with her, and things escalate further.